I'm gonna make a video on migration patterns in regards to alternate Earths between the Georgian equivalent of 1970 AD to 2060 AD, only being born between those years, convenience of grocery stores, internet, etc. Only being born in postmodern years, Georgian equivalent of 1970 to 2060 in other planets/universes. City name as a question is not asked. So, during this time period, if you don't understand what a city name is, you're at a disadvantage. But Divergent is a series that's created by someone named, Veronica Roth, from the East Coast, New York. Let's see. Their factions and their values don't quite explain it. Don't quite the description of these factions. Neither does the Harry Potter houses. Great examples of the difference. The fan base are both. This is the best I can come up with, because I cannot adequately describe this group. The other group, values, interval, and perspectives. So, this idea of, migration patterns is actually very complicated, and even I can't explain it. So, we're going to use, this chemistry lab book on a course I never took. Actually bought a similar lab book like when I first attended university. That was like 2015, 2016. Its cover looked a little different. It's the same, basically the same thing. The cover had a slightly different image. Let's see. Let's look at Appendix A, Appendix B. You clearly see there's a lot of different components to this. So why would a chemistry lab book have anything to do with any of these things? Well, first of all, migration patterns is of oversimplification of a bunch of different things that is best. This is what the guides are, are for. Us mortal soul humans are not supposed to bother with these things. This stuff's like, my answer with this. This is discarded, right? Here, I'll come up with this idea of, basically, it's best to, not deal with those ideas. Those ideas are not for us. So let's try to understand the tools that we have to make immediate decisions. First of all, you can't condense religion to science, but what you can do is examine the tools that are given to you. Now, for instance, we have access to all the different terrains. We we can utilize a map, but we have the different terrains. For example, we have different nature terrains. You got a desert. You got a grasslands and plains. You also got like different settings of history. You got the modern times, right? I don't see here. You got agricultural era. You could also consider the terrain of the Stone Age if you wish. I don't have any pictures of that. The point is, let's see. So when we're discussing, for example, the different terrains, we clearly see that the terrain that we live in have grocery stores, internet. So I had, it's gonna take a while before I can remember the other dream I had last night. But I do have a bunch of dreams months, years ago, a year or two ago. I had this recurrent dream where I was rushed in university. I'd have to, especially when it comes to registering for classes. Like for example, introduction to chemistry. Like there's the chemistry intro to chemistry course. Also like introduction to computer programming. For me, I did fine in the first introduction to computer programming course, but then there's the second and third course after that that's harder. So I had a few dreams where I was, worried that I would not either meet the financial aid requirements and end up having to pay tuition of not being a deadline. Then there's another similar dream on just not being showing up for a final exam, not able to answer the questions, and missing deadlines for programming assignments. In chemistry introduction courses, would be maybe not equivalent would be not showing up for labs, or if you were able to show up for labs and get a satisfactory grade, just completely flunk the exams, or just not being punctual, just not being just being late, or just getting so overwhelmed by the material, just deciding to withdraw from the class. So I had various dreams on something like that. Now the thing is, I have researched the concept of, they call this weed out class, but there's other terms like, a weed out class is, so, so that dream I had, with weed out classes, it got me thinking about, the value of attending university. People who graduate from university, they spent all that time in university. They earn their degrees, their bachelor degrees. Some of them have student loan debt. Some of them don't have student loan debt. So this thing I wrote is describing something that really shouldn't be described. It's just too complicated. It's complicated because, like, to describe this group, that I mentioned, I don't have a description for it. But I can interpret the dreams, the various dreams I had last year, and it occurred maybe a few times this year, several months ago. Basically, basically, you could learn a subject like chemistry, you know, and let's say you spend 10 years in the afterlife learning this, and maybe like elements of periodic table. Um, that's a lot of time, you know, but that's a lot, you know, 10 years for relaxation, maybe like 2 years for, you know, so, just, life review stuff. So that would be maybe 1 year for reading books and watching movies. So, research, basically. So how many years does that be? So 20 plus 3, 23 years. Now, that's actually rather relatively recent. Some people spend much more than that. Let's add 30 years for what I call doing nothing. And that would be 53 years. Let's add 30 years for various things that don't make sense, like, I don't know, like, something religion related. That is now 83 years. Let's add another 20, or let's say 17 years, for, I don't know, let's see, something about politics. So that would be 100 years. That's just too much. I don't. I don't know. Spending 100. Now here's the thing. Uh, who's gonna reincarnate with the Native Americans? When it comes to after World War III, when the total population dwindles below, let's say 500 million. Who's gonna reincarnate in 2070? Yeah. Or if the death day was in 2025, who's gonna reincarnate in 2125, huh? Um, you know, 2125 is 100 years from now. Yeah, but yeah, let's say, I mean, when it comes to religion, when it comes to doing nothing, doing nothing, religion, politics, that ends up spending the vast majority of that time. I mean, that's so much. And to understand, and that's why I want to understand, chemistry, because that doesn't make sense. It just, I mean, why would someone waste all that time learning religion, politics, basically doing nothing? You only spend 2 years?